Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0, but the scoreline hugely misrepresents the game. It flatters Manchester United in every conceivable aspect. That was nothing short of an absolute disgrace by Manchester United. Now, I want to start by praising Newcastle. They fought for every blade of grass. Their shape, their passing, their movement, their intensity, their desire, their ability to win second balls, their passing. In fact, everything is superior to that of Manchester United's. Every single element of their game is superior. And they deserved the win. They deserved to win by 3 or 4 goals, if we're being absolutely honest. And a Newcastle team with a deeper squad would have killed us. Callum Wilson coming on, more options in the attack, would have been slaughtered. They made their first sub very late in that game, and it was the first sub for nearly 180 minutes. Manchester United were outclassed on every blade of grass in every element of the game, from tactics to formation to game management, passing, intensity, desire. One team out there today, Newcastle, wanted to win. Manchester United hoped that they would win. And I saw a few weeks ago, Arsenal fans got very upset when a pundit, I don't remember the lady's name, so I apologize. I wasn't watching the show. I've only seen the clip. Stated that Newcastle wanted it more than Arsenal. And I understand why that may wind Arsenal fans up, because their team want to win. That can't offend any Man United fan. Our team collectively didn't want it. A handful of players did, and I'll touch on that. But Man United didn't want it tonight. Plus, Newcastle were coached better by Eddie Howe. Plus, they are run better. Every single element of that football club makes Man United look a laughingstock. 2 years ago today, Newcastle were bottom of the Premier League and hadn't won a game in 14 matches. You fast forward, and they are better than Man United in every single element that a football club could be better than Man United at. Barring we won a trophy last year and they didn't. Outside of that, the trajectory they're moving in and where we are, I would swap with them trajectory-wise, how they're being run. Manchester United, part of me is angry, part of me is frustrated, but it's the fact we're still here. Is Erik Ten Hag blind? Does he need glasses? How Marcus Rashford wasn't dragged off this football pitch after the first 15 to 20 minutes, I'm never going to understand. There is nothing anybody can say to me to ever make me understand why he stayed on the pitch. This man was soft in his challenging, and every time he got beat, he just threw his arms up like a petulant child and ran back. And I'm going to say this about Marcus Rashford. He doesn't love this team. He might love the club. He might, but he doesn't love this team right now. He was a disgrace tonight against Newcastle. Lazy, insubordinate, did not want to be on that football pitch. And he said something at the end of the game, and I tried to write it down. It read something like, I'm trying to read his lips. He says, what the F am I doing? Or what the F am I doing out there, bro? Is what I saw it. Something like that. And I thought to myself, how dare you? You may not want to play on the right. You may not like the tactics, but you work hard. You don't have any right to down tools, especially when you're paid £350,000 a week. Abomination. We know if that was Martial. We know if that was Jadon Sancho, they'd be getting called out. I would call them out. I'm calling out Marcus Rashford. He was an absolute abomination and an embarrassment to the football club tonight. But then I want to look at Ten Hag, because for me, why are you leaving him on the football pitch? Why? What's the reason? What's the rationale? you're sending. Alan McCoist, the commentator, said this. How do the substitutes come on and really improve things? And what went through my head is it's hard. The message that has again been sent through to these players is, well, look what Rashford does, and he doesn't get taken off early, he doesn't get shown up, he doesn't get embarrassed, and he'll probably start the next game. He'll probably start the next game. Manchester United have not won away from home against a team that has started the game in the top 8 for 2 years. No, I'm a liar. It's 26 months. We haven't won away from home at a team that started that day in the top 8 of the Premier League in 26 months. 26 months. It's an attitude problem. Do you want to know why I know it is? People talk, oh, injuries, though, bruv. Injuries. Newcastle have got injuries. We need better quality. Listen, Fabian Schär was the best player on the pitch today. I thought it was Maldini. When you actually look at Newcastle team, there are a few that you'd buy. I get that, right? There are some. But how many of their team genuinely are all the biggest clubs in the world looking at? You could argue Bruno Guimaraes. I think Livramento looks really good. Isaac? Would the big teams buy him? They haven't. A lot of people tell me Anthony Gordon ain't that good. Joel Linton, there's some talent there. I'm not playing them down. They're very talented. But the manager has them playing. The manager has them well drilled. There is an identity that they're playing that the manager has the capabilities to deliver on. And I go back to why I wanted Ten Hag sacked weeks ago. I wanted Ten Hag sacked because he is not coaching the team to play in the style of which he is accustomed to. We have a pastry chef cooking steaks. We have a plumber building a brick wall. We have a porter doing brain surgery. You know, you wouldn't have an osteopath doing brain surgery. They've both got medical degrees, but they are not the same thing. In any way, shape, or form, they are not the same thing. And this manager, we nearly equalised at the end. And I kind of laughed when it was ruled out for offside. I thought to myself, when it rains, it pours. Can't even get that right. Can't even get a fluky goal right. But there's just part of me, and I'm gonna get clipped for this. It's gonna go around, and it's great. Part of me thought, but what does the draw do for us? Anybody that is deluding themselves into thinking we get better when 2 or 3 players come back from injury, you're mad. You're genuinely, bona fidely mad. Newcastle have more injuries than us right now, and look how they still play football. I've been telling you all season, it's a nonsense. The reason we're struggling is because the manager, he's told us why. But everybody wants to bury their head in the sand. He says, I'm not trying to coach everybody to play like Ajax, the club to play like Ajax. I'm playing it the way the Glazers have told me to do it, the way Man United play football. He can't do it. Here's a plumber trying to build a brick wall. He is an optician doing heart surgery. It's not going to work. And you see that by the fact that I saw a tweet from Don, Chelsea fan Don, that comes on the terrace today. And do you know what he said? Kobe Mainoo looks really good on the ball, but out of possession, I think he said he looks a bit techie or a bit worrying. Well, yeah, of course. Same as everyone that plays in the lone DM role this season. They are all exposed. They have the entire universe around them. Genuinely, you could film every scene from Interstellar in the space that Kobe had to cover tonight. Same for that's why me and Staffy clashed over Casemiro. His legs ain't gone in one summer. He's being pulled from pillar to post. Put a young man in there, he'll look the same. Saw it tonight. The fact we started this game with Scott McTominay instead of Amrabat and Kobe together, providing a really good shield in front of the back line, Amrabat being able to drop back in and make it a back 5 when we had to defend, that would have made it harder for Newcastle to double up with their inside forwards, stroke wingers, and their fullbacks. But instead, we had a single pivot. We always had a midfielder staying further up the pitch, the striker staying up the pitch, and we have wingers that didn't want to track back. So all game, it was 2v1 on our fullbacks and one central midfielder covering space, and Bruno would come back at times. But if he was back, McTominay wasn't, and vice versa for large parts. It's a system. They're being told to do that to a degree. I do think Rashford and Garnacho were lazy. The manager screamed at them. I saw him do it. I didn't think Martial pressed as much as I would want him to. But I don't really want Martial pressing too much. We know his hamstring will go. That's why he shouldn't be here. That man should have been put out to pasture years ago. Facts. We look better once our subs were made. I thought the lob at left back, somebody messaged me before the game saying I thought it would work. I'm not going to call him out for that because it was a theory. I weren't confident. I hoped. They made me believe. But he had no balance because he can't use his left foot. Reguilon came on, we looked better. Højlund came on with speed up, we looked better. Anthony came on, we looked better. Do you know why we just looked a little bit better? A little bit marginal. Because they worked hard. Martial would have worked harder. He can't. His body will break. It's one of those things. Anthony worked harder than Rashford. Reguilon had a left foot. He still, by the way, when we needed a goal, McTominay should have come off. Should have been Kobe and Mainu. Then we really could have sent our fullbacks forward. Would have had cover in the mid. He gets so much wrong. And I don't really do a lot of tactical talk. It's just not really me. But I do understand it. And it was just so... Watching it today, I just thought to myself, this man is blind. Blind. I was literally sitting here whistling the song Three Blind Mice. All I could think about was Stevie Wonder. He would see it before Ten Hag. It's frustrating. I'm going to shout out Maguire and Shaw tonight. I thought they played well at centre-back. That's a positive for me. I thought they both played well at centre-back. I actually think Luke Shaw's a better centre-back than he is left full-back, if I'm being honest. I thought they did well, considering how much they had to deal with. His distribution was awful, but I actually thought Onana did all right tonight in goal, considering what he's been under. But did you see why he should have been dropped? Ooh, every time he went to kick the ball, and you knew Newcastle were going to do that, you should have taken him out. That would have been one little bit less pressure for us to handle. I thought AWB was good in the one-on-ones, but switched off for the goal. But overall, it's another abomination for Man United. Rashford, DISGRACE, does not love this team. Facts. Is not playing for this manager. Why is he being picked? Ten Hag still here, trying to coach a team to do something that he is not accustomed to. Is weird. Another example, you know, it's like give me another type of doctor. I don't know. I can't think of another one. It's like a radiologist. Fuck knows. My head's gone. I can't think of another one. Giving you a lobotomy. It's dumb. This isn't his game. This isn't what he should be trying to do. I'm just absolutely fuming. And I'm saying this now. I genuinely mean this. There's so many good players in this squad that if and when they leave and go, they'll be called Scamrabat, and Højlund's probably got a nickname by now, and X, Y, and Z. But they'll leave and do well elsewhere. I'm telling you. Look what Eddie Howe has got Almiron doing in a club that's run well, in a team that's got confidence, where they're all bought into everything. Look how good he looks. Now, we know Almiron is never going to be a world-class player. Look how good he looks in that team and system. Why does everybody go backwards at Manchester United? It's so frustrating for me. I'm done with the manager. I have been for a while. He's got to go. Rashford should not be putting a shirt back on for Man United for the foreseeable future, as far as I'm concerned. And I know top Reds will defend him, but you can't. That was a lack of effort tonight. And on the money you were paid, and people always say to me, would you say that to his face? I would say to Rashford's face, this is an opinion. I do not believe he loves this team. He can't. I think he's angry that he's on the right-hand side. I think he's angry that he's being told now you've got to track back because you're not the... Last season, I think he was the guy that didn't have to because he was the sort of final piece of a puzzle on a counter. But this season, I swear, I believe, this is my belief based on his body language. I believe he's been told to do something different, which means he won't be the guy scoring the goals, which means he won't be the guy maybe making the headlines. That tells me he's not a team player. And I don't like that. I don't like it. I love Marcus Rashford, and I've praised him so much in defending him, but I cannot defend what I'm seeing. I won't do it. I don't have agendas, and I don't have favourites that I will overlook bad behaviours. I have criticised Sancho for this type of thing. I've criticised Martial for this type of thing. I'm going to criticise him. I have to. I absolutely have to. We have some super chats here before the panel comes out tonight. Terry, a two-faced plastic. Yeah, I'm not two-faced in any way, shape. If I was two-faced, I'd be protecting Rashford. There's nothing two-faced about what I'm saying at all. Anyone that still thinks Ten Hag could stay, tell me how you think he's turning this round. Lowell at headline wondered what Terry would go with. Yeah, I stand by it. Tonight was a disgrace. And I do feel like my headline on the show tonight is taking a little bit away from how good Newcastle were. However, where I talk about disgrace, if you've listened to the video, it will make sense. It's the lack of work rate from this team. That, for me, is... There was a counter-attack Man United had. And a great ball from Bruno over the top. Good touch from Anthony. Plays it inside the Højlund. The Højlund's touch was pretty poor. But they got 5 players back like this because they want it. Because they care. Terry, please tell me I just didn't watch Man United. 9 players behind the ball, low block, 300k salary, and no tracking back. Am I in a nightmare? Yeah, you did just watch that, my friend. Nightmare at St. James's Park for us. Another match, another complete embarrassment. Ten Hag will be sacked after the Liverpool game when they get pumped 7-0 again. Most one-sided 1-0 ever. Rashford is a complete disgrace. I agree. And you know, the bit for me that really worries me is what will happen to us in 2 weeks' time at Anfield, because they will score goals and they will not stop. And this team, with its fragile mind and terrible shape, we could get beat worse than 7-0. And if he does, we have to live with that forever. It could happen. United showed a total lack of effort. Marcus Rashford was shocking, sulking on the right. MH. Maguire was your man of the match. Martial was no better. United are a mess, mate. Arsenal top. There's nothing wrong in what you said. Terry, I can't lie. That was the literal definition of men versus boys. Such a poor game and poor management. Poor starting lineup. Poor system that we're using. Terrible in-game. Do you know what was great about Newcastle's in-game management? I don't know if anyone noticed this. They had peaks and troughs when they put loads of energy and effort in. And that's why they managed to maintain it. You know, with Spurs last week against Villa, they put all their eggs into, let's just score. Hit 50 minutes and they died. Newcastle's in-game management is impeccable because their manager gets it. Cashford secured the bag and dipped. Iconic scam. I need to ask KJ about that. I was called crazy. I called it in September. United will have a new manager next season. Listen, I really thought that Ten Hag knew what he was doing. My mind changed when he said out loud, I'm not trying to play Ajax's style or my style. I'm trying to do it the Man United way. And I sat there and thought, he's just copying what Ollie was doing. Like, at least it proved one thing. They completed a rebuild with Ollie. This is the continuation of it. Oh, shit, my pants. That's what we did. We completed a rebuild. Oh, God. It's like a haunted house, no windows, no roof. The house of the condemned. Anyone who thinks the gym changes anything are mad. Maybe. Wednesday would be a mid-off of the season. 3-1 Chelsea. Is that who Man United play next? Chelsea? Okay, Nah, they'll beat us at Old Trafford as well. VAR disgrace. That's a red on Bruno. Every time I watch Man United, I wonder how they are above Chelsea. Our managers are soft and foul to show discipline. I didn't think it was a red card on Bruno. I thought it was a yellow card offence because it was an accident and it was on his foot. I would be a hypocrite to say it was a red card because I said that Rashford wasn't in the Champions League. However, Share should have been booked prior to that for stopping us on a counter. So he could have seen red for getting 2 yellow cards, but wasn't booked for the first. The second one wasn't seen. It's one of those things. I don't think it was a red card straight, though. It was accidental and on top of the foot. So for me, it's a yellow card offence. Terry, Newcastle looked so good. Looked like Newcastle were against 9 men today. Newcastle looking scary. Newcastle just get on with it and ignore injuries. It's because their club's got an elite mentality. Their club has got an elite mentality. Now, that doesn't mean the manager don't win the league, sack him. That's a ridiculous mentality to have at this stage of their development. But they have a mentality which is, we'll handle it. Every single person at that football club is pulling in the same direction. the board, the sporting directors, the footballing directors, the scouts, the transfer team that do the negotiations, the manager and the coaches and players from the under fives, men and women's teams, right through to the first team, play the same brand of football. They target the same profile of football players because they are one unit. Been spouting this for years. People just want to ignore it. Just sack them. By the way, I don't think sacking Ten Hag completely fixes us. Don't get it twisted. But equally, he can't stay. Who genuinely thinks he's turning this round? Or Lissandro's going to come back and we'll be okay. Oh, sorry, Top Reds. Top Right says, my nephew told me he's supporting Arsenal now because United make him sad and Saka is his favourite player. I can't force the boy into depression. Well, no, you need to. No, he does need to. You don't ever get to change your team. It's the only. Other nations, I'm not going to. In England, my country, it's the only thing you're not allowed to change. Everything else you can change. You can change your name. You can change sex. You know, you can date who you want. You can get divorced. You can change religions freely. You can change every year. You do not change your football team in England ever. You might not be in England though. You sent in dollars, so maybe. Seven Hag is the problem at United. No imprint, no SOB style of play. Look, he's a problem. He isn't the problem. He's a problem. The problem are the people that have put him in charge to run it the way they want. Imagine this. They built a shit system with an imbalanced squad, right? They don't know what they're doing, and then they hire someone that's a completely opposing philosophy of football to what the Glazers want us to play, and they go, he'll do a job. Honestly, shit my pants, mate. It's so funny. Make the pain stop. Baz1, I haven't seen you in a while, mate. I hope you're well. It's Dr. Miami performing open heart surgery. I don't know who Dr. Miami is, but I'm not going to Google it. Might get arrested. I can't lie. I was slapping this United team on Wednesday. We are slapping them. Maybe you will, mate. Ten Hag is a coach beard. I don't know what that means. Wednesday will be jokes, bro. Missed chances galore. It could be. And John here super chatted but didn't say anything. So thank you very much, John. Panel time now, people. We're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford. We are going to ask for an overview from the guys, but the subjects we're talking about is going to be Marcus Rashford's lack of effort, how much longer Ten Hag can stay at the football club. And we will touch on Newcastle as well. I only think that it is fair, but make sure like buttons have been smashed, even if you're fuming with the result tonight. That means a great deal to us on the football terrace if you could do that. Let's bring them out. KJ's here, Staffy's here, and like Sunshine, and Dizzy is here as well. Boys, another abysmal performance from the team. As good as Newcastle were, no effort, no attempt to try to win by Man United. First subject I want to speak about, boys, is Marcus Rashford. Staffy, the lack of effort from that man tonight surely is unforgivable at this point.
First of all, is my audio fine?
Perfect.
Okay. Sell the guy. Just that simple. No need for any of us here to sit here and rage. I see we're all disappointed, but none of us should be angry. Dizzy, AG, KJ, we've seen this enough. We've seen this multiple times. He needs to go, as many others, but this is the question I was asked right now, so I'm only talking about him. There's no effort. There's no desire. He does not care. I understand if you're not a good footballing side. I understand if the game is not going your way and you're not dominating the ball and all that. But that first half was inexcusable. The amount of times I've seen him flop his arms around instead of tracking back, when clearly on the other side, Garnacho, who I criticized so many times, has done that. Every time Dalot needed help, Garnacho was there. More times than not, he won the ball. Sometimes he got done, but he was still there. I remember one ball where I think it was Fabian Schär or someone who played a long ball behind the defense, and Wan-Bissaka was out of position. And then the closest one to it, who was about 20 yards away, was Rashford, and he starts flopping his arms. Are we really in a position to be flopping our arms? The first thing you should see is like, shit, my teammate is now exposed. Let me track back. And that's just, I'm talking about just the basics, which is the work rate on the ball. What do I even need to say? Absolutely shocking. Every time he got the ball, you're right-footed, right? You should be holding with. You're playing against, by the way, you're playing a right back and left back. Okay? So he's out of position. You are out of position as well. How come the left back, who's right-footed in Livramento, is looking better out of position than you are? How are you not taking advantage of the fact that he is not playing in his preferred position? And he's a young player. He only came on because they had injuries. Dan Burn should have been playing this game. So he's playing out of position to fit in for someone who's injured. And he looked miles better than you. He had acres to run into. And instead of Rashford taking him on, instead of sticking to the line, instead of holding the width, he has to cut in every time. The minute he cuts in, I know it's over. Like, I know it's over. I'm like, you know what? He's going to lose in the next 5 seconds. And he ended up doing it. You know? So, just to sum all this up, listen, like, the team just wasn't good enough. I know all that. And we'll talk about that. But you got to be individually doing what you're supposed to do. If you're not going the ball, you still need to be tracking back. The effort has nothing to do with how much you're holding the ball. It doesn't matter how much possession we have. It doesn't matter if we're going long, if we're building from the back. The lack of effort today, from what I've seen from Rashford, was shocking. And I'm sorry, Terry, you said it perfectly, actually. He just doesn't love this team. You look at him today, he doesn't love the manager. He doesn't love his teammates. If I loved my teammates, I'd be tracking back. If I see Wan-Bissaka getting exposed like that, I'm like, shit, how can I help him? He didn't show that at all. He didn't show that he cared. So what's the point of keeping him? We've having this convo way too many times. It's just time to sell. It's time to sell and just move on.
Here's the problem with just sell him. He just signed a brand new contract. He is now, whether we like it or not, he is the face of this team. And obviously now it goes back to whose decision it was to make him the face of the team. But the reality is he's the face of the team now. He's probably one of our highest paid players. He's an academy product. He is Mr. United at the moment. And to be honest, I questioned it when he signed the contract because yeah, he was our leading goal scorer last season, but from I want to say February onwards, he disappeared and he ain't been back since, to be honest. I don't really want to go too hard on Marcus Rashford because he is what he is. What I don't like on him is that he refuses to pass the ball when he does something good. If he does something good, that means he has to try and beat another man and then another man, and then invariably he will lose the ball. And then he'll be frustrated because he lost the ball, and then he might not track back properly because he's frustrated. And I think what our problem is at the moment, I think we have too many fair weather players. We have too many players where when the going is good, everybody looks like they're on job. Everybody's trying the fancy flicks and tricks and that. But when it's not going well, we don't have a single soul in this team that can galvanize the team and get them back on the right track. But and then also what's it called? But then largely speaking, our issue is, I mean, I guess you might touch on it in a little bit, but I think Ten Hag needs a lot of the blame, man. When Staffy came for Casemiro, and I said, bro, one man is not holding down that midfield by himself. We've seen Amrabat try, we've seen McTominay try, now we've seen Maino try, and the same thing keeps happening. I don't know what you want me to tell you, bro. It's a tactics. It's gotta be.
And we certainly are going to come on to that in a bit when we get onto the Ten Hag situation. KJ, from your point of view, I know you're someone who's backed Marcus Rashford a lot, but I don't know if you saw the moment where he sat on the bench. I don't know exactly what it said, but it looked something along the lines of, "What do they expect me to do out there, bro?" Or "Why am I playing in that position?" But it looked like him being annoyed that he's being asked to do something that he doesn't want to do. Is that what you want to see from your talisman, your highest paid player, a born and bred Manc? Is that what we should be seeing week in, week out from a player like Marcus Rashford?
I'm disappointed in him. Disappointed. If you put Mo Salah on the left-hand side, he'll still work hard and produce. You put anyone into the opposite, any world-class player, put them on the opposite side, even if they like it or not, they're producing for their team and they're working hard. I'm seeing a petulant child right now. And if you're someone who's writing books for the young kids, who wants to be this inspiration that his management team like to make out that he is, he can't be doing these things. Even just as a footballer, you can't be doing these things. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep going. I don't care if you don't like it on the right-hand side. You're right-footed, mate. Keep the width, cross the ball in. That's all you have to do. No, he's not being asked to play in goal. He's not asked to be playing CDM. He's not being asked to play centre back. You are a left winger / striker being asked to play on the right, and you're acting like you've been asked to do something you can never do ever in your life, something impossible. It's a disgraceful attitude, and it's frustrating because now it's 3 seasons in a row of this up down kind of behavior from Rashford. He needs to stop. He needs to stop, or just leave, because you can do that somewhere else. You can do that somewhere where that's okay. Go to Crystal Palace. Zaha been doing that, and he had a great career at Crystal Palace. If you want to be up and down, go Palace. No disrespect to Palace fans, but go Palace. Go to another team where being up and down is acceptable. It is what it is. He should be better than this. He should be. And you're one of the highest paid players in the club, and you have to be the example. You have to be the example, and he's not being that. So, yeah. Anyone that wants to give Rashford smoke at the moment, I ain't defending it. And you guys know I normally defend Rashford. He deserves all the criticism he can get, and he needs a whole bench. He needs a whole bench. Play Palestri, play Anthony, play Garnacho on the right. I don't care. You know what? Bring back Sancho and play him. I don't flipping care how you do it. He needs the whole bench in it. He just needs the whole bench until he can get his mind right, or we sell him. He has the whole bench, because this is it's not good enough.
I hear you on that. Sunshine, how about yourself? I mean, we know that rivals are going to come for Rashford because of who and what he is and what he's done. But can you defend him? Is there a way of defending him? Is this a case of let him play through this or find form? Because we're nearly halfway through the season.
No, you can't let him play. You can't let him play through it. It's just he's acting like a complete wallad, straight idiot, man. There's no reason to down tools, man. I said about 2 seasons ago, I think under Ollie, I said, you know what, with these players, if you can't play for the manager, cool. If you can't play for the fans, cool. If you can't play for your own family, cool. Play for your fucking self. Go play football for yourself. That's the reason you started playing football in the first place. Everyone's got an inner child that loves football. They play for themselves when they do that bare minimum. Do it for yourself. And my man's sitting there, throwing his arms about. I'm like, bro, I beg, if you lose a ball, just go chase it back. The kids that I work with, Terry, on a flipping football pitch, if you see their work rate off a ball, if you see the amount of times I encourage them to trap back, I don't care if they lose a ball. I care if they're willing to go and win it back. Are they willing to run 40, 50 yards, even if they don't get it, without making a foul? And they'll do it literally every single week. They'll do it every single week. And they get the most praise for it, because it's the hardest thing to do. When you got a football at your feet, yeah, you come alive. When you got no ball at your feet, that's when the real hard work comes in. Making false runs, doing all of this and that. My man's, it's like he's lost touch with reality. It's like, once again, we fed the beast with another player who's now got an ego, crazy amount of money, put him on this pedestal because we're a commercial flipping club, not a football club, where the standards is, you're the face, so you're going to get treated like a golden child. Your performances don't matter. That new contract has to be a reason why he's starting. Has to be. There is no reason Rashford should be playing on the right wing. But like Staffy said, even if you play on the right wing, like KJ said, if you play in a different position, you should still be able to do your Ross Clark job. It's not hard. And the way my man's moving at the moment, yeah, with the great... Listen, I defended him, well, a part of his behaviours, in the sense of what he was doing on the pitch. I highlighted the simple fact that the inconsistencies in development at his youth age has stunted his growth for developing certain parts of his game. But no level of development can change a mentality. I'm sorry, it can't. You're either going to be committed or you're not. And he's not committed.
I completely agree. And this super chat here says, I'm really not here to twist a knife, but for years I've been saying Rashford isn't that world-class guy because he's inconsistent. United fans always called it BS. DJ, I get where you're coming from. My view is this: I do think he has the ability to deliver. Listen, technically on the ball, he's not going to ever be Messi or Neymar. No one's ever believed that. This guy, when he's in the right frame of mind, has the ability to be devastating in front of goal and score lots of goals and impact games and win you points. The problem he has, it's his head, not his technical ability. And for years, I've spoken about this at Man United. We, more so than our tactics, more so than anything else, our work rate, our discipline, staying in shape is about discipline. Tracking back is about discipline and mindset and work rate. It's about sacrifice. These things are all mental attributes. And for me, when Rashford had that terrible year, I looked at the whole situation, his injuries, Ten Hag, Ragnick, and I'm feeling like I was very wrong to turn around and go, it's an anomaly. Because now when he's unhappy again, we're seeing him do what we've seen lots of players do in the last decade, down tools and say, well, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm not gonna give my all. And there was that moment in the game where I think it was second half, Livramento got past him easy, and he just stopped running. Like he was like my 3-year-old boy does that. And for me, that there is unforgivable. It's like Onana's mistake the other night. I find it unforgivable. I look at it and think to myself, I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again. If you score a winner against Chelsea, I'd celebrate the win. I want my team. I know I want the manager out. I'll still celebrate a win. But am I actually ever going to trust Marcus Rashford again? His ability I'm fine with. It's what's going on between his ears. And I'm not defending him when I say this. This club is so toxic. I'm not surprised he's like it. But we have to eradicate this from Manchester United. It has to go. One thing we haven't done, unless they do something. You know what's funny? When the manager came in, everybody was like, there needs to be a sacrificial lamb. A lot of people said it should have been Rashford. Maybe it should have been. Maybe it should have been almost you can't misbehave at this football club. You can't down tools. You can't do this. But look, the manager, it's gone wrong. I mean, there's big reports coming out that there was a fracas after the game between Martial and the manager. They obviously had a clash during the game on the pitch as well. Things are falling apart at Man United again rapidly. And that kind of brings us on to Erik Ten Hag. And before we talk about his job, I want to ask this question and see if we can get an answer from you or the viewers who are tuning in. Why has he not addressed this polo midfield? Why is he now? And I want to go Staffy first on this because I know you the other day you said, essentially, Casemiro maybe weren't at fault. You're now seeing Kobe being hung out to dry, Amrabat being hung out to dry. Why has this manager not addressed the elephant in the room? And that is that his single pivot approach to these games is one of the biggest reasons we're being destroyed week in, week out.
Because he's being persistent. First of all, he's being stubborn and he's being persistent with the tactic he wants to play, which is that stupid 3-1-6. We went back to it now because now he has Shaw, so he felt comfortable that he could do it, which is not the case. Because you're relying too much on the high press with your 8s. Today, you had no chance to press anyways. Because there's a few times, if you go back and you watch, I think it was in like the first 20 minutes, there's a few times where we executed the press and they bypassed it. And they found it easy to run out our defenders and our lone 6. So his tactics haven't worked. Now, the personnel between Casemiro and Kobe, that changed because none of us here thinks that Kobe had a bad game. We just know he can't do it on his own. That's the difference. So that Kobe-Casemiro conversation is different than the tactic. The tactic remains the same. The tactic remains the high press. The tactic remains use McTominay pressing up high next to Bruno because he has the physical ability to do so. But what happens when he doesn't do so? We don't have the personnel to cover behind him. We don't have the personnel. We actually, you said it bang on, Terry. Maguire and Shaw are the reason we didn't get embarrassed today. Because we could have easily conceded a few more. That free kick that hit the bar could have went in. We could have conceded a lot more today. Today was damage limitation. But until when is the manager going to persist with a tactic that doesn't fit anyone? And this is why when I said weeks ago, Ten Hag out, it's not because like I just want to get so angry at Ten Hag and say, oh, get him out, this and that. I saw enough stubbornness and I saw a manager who's pretty much making all his players, including the ones that he bought, look bad. You're not playing to anyone's strength. You're being stubborn. You're getting, I just saw, by the way, a shocking stat right now. I don't even think you guys knew this. The last time we beat a top 8 team away from home, Oli was the manager.
Yeah,
I said it at the top of the show.
I didn't even know that.
I said it at the top of the show that the stat is
Oh,
Man
my
United
bad.
have not won away from home against a team starting in the top 8 for 26 months.
I didn't know
I
that
think
until now. I just
it
saw
was a 3-0 against Spurs.
Against
In
Spurs.
the El Sakiko of all things as well. That's
It was
when
in
we
the El
actually won.
Sakiko. Yeah, the irony.
Yeah.
The irony. Yeah, it's ridiculous how bad that record is. And it's listen, I get exactly where you're coming from with Ten Hag. Like Dizzy, from your point of view, are you getting to a point where you're losing faith in this manager being able to turn it round? Because I know you've said this. We've all sat here on these United streams in the last 2, 3, 4 years and gone, how is he not seeing what we are all seeing? It's glaringly obvious what the problems are, but yet every week it's never addressed.
And you know what? Here's really quickly, you asked for somebody to try and find a defense of Rashford. Here's how I'll defend him and the other players that we have, just to a little degree. Obviously, they're still at fault for a large portion of what we're seeing at the moment. But one, if you come into work in any field of work, if you come into a work environment from a psychological standpoint where nothing is going well, nothing is good in the hood, everything is falling apart, and then your boss or your manager or whoever it is giving you instructions that don't seem to make sense and don't seem to be addressing what the issue is from week to week. Let's say you have a team meeting and you're like, okay, last week X went wrong, let's work on that. And then all of the instructions in the week that follow have absolutely nothing to do with addressing the issue. I can see how you could grow in contempt. I can see how you can grow in apathy. I can see how you can grow in frustration and not know where you're supposed to be going. And because it looked to me like the players were trying, but it didn't look like they know what they were trying to do, to me personally. And I've always said games are won and lost in the midfield battle. And we had a balanced-ish midfield last season, which after obviously we got humbled by Brighton and who was the other team at the start of the season?
Brentford.
And Brentford. We had somewhat of a balanced midfield with a double pivot. And why he abandoned that, I don't know. But I said this, I think I keep reiterating this, that I said this maybe week 4, that this season for me was over from then. Because I saw the warning signs that we're not going to be competing for anything meaningful. We're not even going to be competing for what looks like progression to United fans. And how he turns it around, I think there's so many personnel that don't look happy. There's so many personnel that don't look like they know what they're doing. His guys are now starting from the bench, and I don't see how they come back into the team. I don't see how he fixes it, because I don't know if he knows what he's trying to do, because all of the things that he's trying to implement aren't working, and all of the players that he brought in to implement whatever it is that he was trying to implement don't seem to be working either. So we could blame the injury crisis, but at this point, what we're waiting for, Lisandro and Casemiro to come back. Is that going to move the needle for real? I don't think so. So I don't see how he makes it past Christmas, other than the board are going to be stubborn with let Jim come in and fix it. But I don't know if Jim will fix this one. I'm not
Dizzy,
gonna lie.
Dizzy, the closest thing to Lisandro in that back line is Shaw. Okay, he's the closest thing that could do what Lisandro does. Have you seen, since Shaw came in, any improvement on the ball? You would be lying to yourself if you think so.
Bro, I
Because
said that.
Shaw. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said that when Shaw was injured. People, I think in the TFT United chat, people were saying,
I said
when
it too.
Shaw
Don't
comes
worry.
back, we'll be back to something that looks like. I'm like, bro, in fact, we've had Luke Shaw here for 10 years. We know exactly who he is, and we know exactly what's gonna happen.
No, but it's not even about that. That's not the point.
It's not gonna
I agree with
anything.
you, but because I said we're gonna look better when it comes in, but it's been better in like little glimpses on the ball. The bigger picture, nothing has changed, because you finally got the only left-sided center back outside of Lisandro, who we all know that we actually all sit here and argue that probably that's his best position instead of left back. We're still not building well from the back, and it's not down to him, by the way. I'm just talking about the structure. It's not down to him. The structure doesn't look good. The midfield still doesn't look good, and we're still getting dominated. And the reason I'm saying that, it's not just because we lost today, is because we beat Everton and we didn't control the midfield. We tied with Galatasaray and we didn't control the midfield. And today we lost and we didn't control the midfield. That's 3 games in a row that he used. Yes, granted, today he was a center back, and last 2 games he was a left back. But still, you still had him in the back line, and you still can't play out the back.
But the elephant in the room.
Yeah, Terry.
Yeah. Sorry, just quickly. Just quickly on that point. You've got Diego Dallo playing left back, respectfully. Just because he can play there doesn't mean he should be there. You've got a Reguilon at left back, who's, in my opinion, since he's come, has been dominating on that left side. He had a great start. He's been fit enough now for the past couple of games to be starting games. If you've got Luke Shaw at left centre back, surely Reguilon would have a better relationship with Luke Shaw there, 100%. Playing that Dallo at fullback as a left back when defensively he's shocking. He defensively is shocking. You don't know whether he's going to have a 2 out of 10 or he's going to put one top bin or get a sick assist. Wan-Bissaka offensively is better than Diego Dallo on the ball. That's crazy. People don't see that. He's statistically better. He actually beats his man. He actually can get out of tight spaces. He actually doesn't lose the ball as often. He just looks ugly doing it. He's an ugly footballer. But that's why I say about aesthetics means nothing. Effective, everything about effectiveness has to happen above aesthetics. If you're effective enough in what you do, I don't care whether you look cool on the ball or not. Because a misplaced pass is a misplaced pass. If you're getting shagged in defense, you're getting shagged in defense. It should not matter. As long as you are effective enough. Diego Dallo for me is literally Marcus Rashford. Purple patch. He'll have 3 out of 10 games, then he'll have a 6 out of 10, then he'll have a 9 out of 10. Everyone's going, oh my gosh, look at that Diego Dallo. He's too inconsistent for me.
To
answer your question, Terry. Sorry, Terry asked the question, so I want to answer it because we've gone on tangents. In terms of Ten Hag, and as someone who's not been Ten Hag out straight away, I've been Ten Hag, fix it because I believe you can. 2 things is happening. The main thing that everyone believes is happening is he's seeing the problems and he's choosing not to fix it because he's stubborn and he wants to play this way. Or number 2 is that he can't see what's going on and genuinely believes everything is fine. Both scenarios is not good enough and an issue. And this is where, as someone who's wanted Ten Hag to work out, who believes in Ten Hag, or did believe in Ten Hag to figure it out, and someone who believed that, you know what, for the better of Man United, we have to go through pain to get further along. He's making it hard for me to even believe that. Like, this pain, if it was pain as in, like, say, look at Newcastle. They lose to Bournemouth. They draw against PSG. They lose games in the Champions League, but they're still progressing as a club. So the pain that they go through in those scenarios, you can bear it because you know that you're going forwards. We're going through pain as a team and as a club just to go backwards. And that's where my faith in Ten Hag is waning, because I don't go into any single game believing we can win. Scraping a draw is a miracle at this moment in time. Getting my forwards to score is a prayer on prayer on prayer right now. To score more than 3 goals and win is a prayer on prayer on prayer right now. That's how I'm feeling as a Man United fan. And my view on Ten Hag is, you're boss. Listen, you might have to be the first. You talking about sacrificial lambs? Yo, Ten Hag might have to be the first one when Jim comes in. If we're really going to see change, if we're really going to see the Paul Mitchells, the Italian brother, or the French brother, whoever the former CEO of Juve, if we're going to see him come in, we're going to see all this new football structure come in, they have to say, listen, you got to go, because you've created an environment that doesn't work. You've created an environment for the players that is not conducive to play football. You've got to go. Then they can look at the players, and whoever it is, honestly, I do not care. The only one I care about is Kobe Mainoo. The rest of them, if they come in and say, guys, listen, all of you are going. We're going to sell you in the next 2 years. All of you gone, get looking for teams. I'll be okay with it. But right now, the issue is the system. The issue is the players not fitting in and being unbalanced. And you have to look at the manager to do that. I think Ten Hag fell victim to his own arrogance. Because I was watching the game, I was like, you know what? If this was in Holland, this might work. This tactic might be the thing in Holland. If you go to another country, it might be the thing. It might work. But it's not working in the Premier League. And you're choosing not to fix it. And so, therefore, your own arrogance is blinding you from what's happening.
You know what's
So,
crazy, KJ?
Ten Hag, as much as I like you, and I believe you can be a great coach, honestly, my friend, you are making it hard, and you are literally, for the better of Man United, I think it actually might be time for you to go when Sergio comes in. I don't know.
KJ, today, not only did his tactic not work, there was no plan B. We only started threatening them when they got tired. There was like 15 minutes left. They pressed us the whole game. They managed to only get 1 goal, and that's shame on them because they should have put that game to bed early. And then they started getting tired. Like, you can't press for 90 minutes. That's when they start conceding a little bit to us. And they didn't have really option on the bench because they have injuries. The thing is, I was waiting for halftime. I was like, you know what? Sometimes you need halftime. You need a breather. And then I looked at it. I'm like, bro, you don't have a different way to play this game. Because if you can't build from the back, what's the second option? Is to play long ball. We tried both in the first half, and both of them didn't work. And then I looked at my option on the bench. People thought bringing on Højlund is gonna be a stationary player where he wins the ball with his head or whatever. I'm like, it's not even his strength. I looked at it and I'm like, this is, I would say, 90% of the team that you either chose or re-signed or just bought in the summer, whatever it is, and you can't get any of them to play any way. Like, you can't even play. I was like, we need to play Ollie ball in the second half, but then it hit me. We are trying Ollie ball, and it's not working. Because every time we went long, no one was bringing the ball down. Every time we won the ball, they contested us right away and won it. They won all their duels, and we couldn't.
Mate, and this is it. And there's a super chat here from Mr. Thomas here that says, you can't say that nothing changes until the Glazers leave, then trust them to hire a new manager since they are not going anywhere. Ten Hag has to be given time to make mistakes and mold his team. Glory Man United, and he says at least 3 seasons. Look, I understand where you're coming from, and that's where you start to. I'm not a reductionist, and I've said this already, Mr. Thomas, and I know you've seen many videos. I know you watch my videos. I don't believe stacking Ten Hag ultimately fixes us in the long term, gets us back to the top of the league, and will make us, with the money we spend, one of the best teams in the world again. I'm not saying that will be the outcome. In fact, every time we've sacked a manager in the last 10 years, barring David Moyes, I've said if we don't fix the fundamental problems at the club, a new manager will only take us so far. My issue with Ten Hag isn't so much that we're losing the games as we are now and not giving him time. I can't give a manager time who is trying to implement a style of play that I do not believe he has the ability to. You would not hire Sam Allardyce to try and play football like Eddie Howe. If your club has built you wouldn't bring him to Brighton. You wouldn't even bring him to Bournemouth these days. They try for a club their size, they try and play good football. Newcastle are trying to play a certain way. They're not going to go from Eddie Howe. One day, probably, Eddie Howe will be replaced. They're not going to go for somebody who is the complete adjacent, the complete opposite, the complete antithesis of what Eddie Howe and the style of football Newcastle building is. And that's my problem here. And the manager has said it. And the fact Man United fans are ignoring this scares me. Where he basically said, I'm not trying to play the way you guys fell in love with me playing. I'm trying to do it Man United's way. And for me, that was the ding, ding, ding. That was the moment. So it's not about dislike. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's bad at what he does. But I think he's trying, like I said before,
I have to push back on that one if I can.
He's an optician who's trying to do brain surgery, and it isn't going to work.
I have to push back on that one if I can, because all the teams you just mentioned have a structure and an identity. We don't. I've said this many, many times. Manchester United has no footballing people in an area or an environment that can allow us to have a structure and an idea. So therefore, it has to come down to a manager. If it comes down to the manager, sadly or not, we're going to have to build an idea of a manager respectfly. And I'm not saying that's great.
I agree with that bit. Me and you agree on that. My problem is, but we're not doing it in Ten Hag's way.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
There's no way you're going to be able to do it his way until you have a full squad of profiles that suit what he's trying to do and then play them consistently. No manager gets the chance. Hold up. No manager gets the chance to get to that stage. So it's going to get worse before it gets better with any manager. And this isn't me defending Ten Hag. Here's
the question.
The next manager and the manager after that.
I agree.
Sorry, can I ask this question?
Go on, ask a question. Go on, because
so like you said, like we need to get the profiles of the manager that needs to play the football, but he's got some. He's already
No,
got some.
some is not enough. This is the thing.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
enough, KJ.
But the thing is, it's not about having all of them. Like you said,
No, it is.
you know that
This is my argument.
But if you're a manager and the argument is you need all of your players to get in to play completely your football,
Correct.
but you've only got some of them. Why aren't you playing some of them to get to that point
Because
anyway?
half of
That's
and
why
this
I'm
is my point.
confused.
There's no confusion. If you strip back the season, most of the key players that allowed us to do what we tried to do last season were out. So there's no consistency in the main areas. We then aren't able to then at least, again, respectfully, if 1 or 2 players are out, we can replace them. But then we're then forcing ourselves to have to play a different way. For example, we all know I dislike Maguire as a player, always have done. But we also know I'll give him his flowers this season. Even when he's in form, which he is right now, he's still a mess to the way we want to play because of how long he takes on the ball. He's still in form. But that is one example of many. And this isn't to defend Ten Hag and what he's doing. What I'm saying to you is every manager that comes in is going to have the same issues because we don't have a structure that allows us to go and get rid of players quick enough and bring replacements in quick enough. Therefore, I expect us to not play the style of football consistently. That's it.
So I understand that, and I agree with you. The problem I have is deeper than that, though. I think Ten Hag has ruined his relationship with too many players. So let's just say the Sir comes in, he brings his board in, and they go, right, we want to play how Ten Hag played. We actually want to, over the next 5 to 10 years, we want to develop a team and a squad that plays more like Ajax or more like Barca or more like City. And it doesn't matter who they pick. They'll pick a style of football and go with it. Maybe Ten Hag's even that guy. But I believe he has damaged his relationship so deeply with too many of this squad that don't believe in him that I believe that element is beyond repair. So I understand what you're saying. And this is where this is why I'll state it again. Just sacking Ten Hag doesn't fix Man United. If you listen to any creator, any fan out there saying, just sack the manager, bring in a better guy. The only type of manager that could get a tune out of us right now is a short-term manager. Someone like an Antonio Conte. If the Glazers stay and we make no changes, that is who I would advocate to come in. Not because I love what he does, but I think he would do fine for 18 months, 2 years, because that's in terms of he'd get results, he'd get the players up, he'd get spent a bit of money on, but it's going to fall apart in 2 years anyway. So you might as well have a manager that's good at 2 years than someone that needs time to build something when we don't build. And I think that's the fundamental issue here. I want to do some more of these super chats, gents. This here says, Ten Hag in forever, whatever the weather. Ten Hag's hair on his dome. Thank you, Daps Vapes, for that, bro. Staffy, I'll say it again. I don't know what that says in. I assume that's Arabic.
I'm not gonna repeat it out of respect for our Arabic audience.
Okay, cool. And,
It's not a good word. That's all.
Fair enough.
He's not happy. He's not happy. That's all I can say. He's not happy.
Rashford looking like post-contract Aubameyang. Listen, I hear it. I hear it. YUFC, hope you're doing well, bro. Says was so angry watching it. The top 6 show for one back in United to win today. Believed that we would, and most disappointing thing is we didn't turn up, bro. I love that you had the confidence that we could get a result today. I'll be honest with you. Again, been called. There's this weird guy on Twitter that keeps saying I say nicer things about Arsenal than Man United. I'm like, yeah. I do right now because Arsenal are better than Man United. How could I praise Man United for anything at this moment in time? You know, I praised us last week. When we beat Everton 3-0, I praised us. I praised us massively because they deserve praise. I can't praise tonight. I can praise bits against. I was really mad tonight. We worked so hard against Galatasaray. Didn't today. Strange. And I would actually say Galatasaray's environment they're a better team, Newcastle, than Galatasaray. But the environment was much harsher. But there we go. There we go. Baz here says, I haven't seen Man United play tooth and nail for a manager since Ollie, ironically.
I disagree. We did last season.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed Ollie Ball so much more than whatever Ten Hag trying to do right now. I am gonna be so honest. We might not have turned up every game. We might have had like fits and starts where we turned up or where we didn't. But at least I knew that when we were on, we played some amazing football.
Wait, listen, bro. When we are, see that counter attack that happened today, with Højlund and Anthony and Bruno. That's happened all season. Under Ollie, we on our counter attack. About 70% of me is like we're scoring a goal or getting a shot on target, or it's going to be something that we create that gives us some kind of momentum or encouragement. We have not scored a beautiful counter attacking goal since Ollie. Actually, no, tell a lie. We probably did it last season, but it feels like we haven't done it since Ollie. The possession game that Ten Hag's known for, we haven't done that. The moments of brilliance have slowly come back, but that's because we need something. Our defenders and midfielders, and let me specify, our defensive midfielders are the ones scoring goals. Our attackers do nothing. Under Ollie, at least I knew one striker was getting 17 goals, the other winger was getting 17 goals, and the other winger was getting 12 goals. I knew that was going to be happening, and our Cam was getting like 20 goals. It's all gone, and this is why I'm annoyed at Ten Hag. Because how has he destroyed everything?
He's destroying it, and again, this is what this part isn't his fault per se. Part of it is, but it's because he's being. I told you he's an optician, and they've asked him to do heart surgery. He's still got a medical degree. I assume opticians have got a medical degree. Dentists do, but you wouldn't have it. Would you have a dentist operate on your knee? No. You pick the right type of medical professional for the right type of medical issue. You pick the right style of manager with the right philosophy that matches what you're trying to do. That's why I want him gone. People go, you think he's a bad manager? No. Ever since he said what he said, I cannot fathom why 99.9% of Man United fans haven't gone, well, this isn't going to work, is it?
That was,
That
was a big red flag for me.
So why do people expect
we don't
to play
want
Ajax
back.
ball in the first? I never got that.
So it's not Ajax ball, and I think that's.
I never understood that. Yeah,
I'm being a reductionist in that way. So my view is this: I think most modern day managers have a set way of playing, and you'll probably find that most managers always have done. There's a way they play. There's a way they do things. I expected him to come in and make us. I don't expect the club to adopt everything Ajax does. That is an oversimplification of what I personally mean. Do you remember we got trolled as Man United the first time he tried to get us to do that passing drill? And on Twitter, people showed United trying to do a passing drill versus how good his Ajax team were at doing that passing drill. My view was that he is going to coach us to press better, to pass better, to create better shapes, to have better movement. I felt it would look more like the way Ajax play, not we'd adapt everything.
Why did you think that though? Like, what made you go that's the conclusion?
Because why would you hire a manager who is famed for that and not expect an element of that to be? Imagine if we signed Pep Guardiola to manage our team, would you be shocked if we didn't invert our fullbacks, if we didn't play tiki-taka one-touch football, if the team didn't run back hard and get into shape? I'd be really shocked if a Pep Guardiola team didn't do that. So from my point of view, I'm shocked that a Ten Hag team hasn't improved on its passing, hasn't improved on its shape, hasn't improved on its creativity in terms of the overall team in the way in which we saw him implement that at Ajax. And I think for me, that element, I don't believe anybody didn't feel that those areas of our game were going to improve under him. I expect them to.
The reason I didn't, and I'll keep it 100, absolute 1,000, is because out of respect for Ajax, they are so... As a club, they are one of the best clubs from top to bottom based on how it's been run. Their academy is riddled with profiles, impeccable profiles. To the point, I remember arguing with a certain man, and you'll know about Indiana as well, when I was talking about Donny van de Beek playing in the 6th row. People didn't know that he could play in the 6. I said, I watched Ajax play football. I said, every midfielder knows how to play every single position in midfield from a youth. Every single player. Every single player in certain other positions will know how to play 1 or 2, 3 more positions because their youth is riddled with it. Their whole academy is riddled with it. The profiles that they get in, their structure is based around it. So ultimately, I'm looking at Manchester United going, Manchester United does not have that setup. It doesn't have the freedom to be able to go, okay, I can use X, Y, Z in these players. It's not specific enough.
Sunshine, sorry, I wanted to check. Sorry, mate. Where I disagree with you, bruv, is none of that stops a manager from doing coaching drills that makes them better at passing the ball.
What you're missing, okay, but the bit you're missing, in my honest opinion, is the simple fact that there are certain players that are past their coaching levels that are not again around a certain team or a culture of a club with the amount of players that are enablers to be able to play that style of football.
I understand that. Where I disagree, but Najee, where I disagree with you, brother, where I disagree with you is, but how can Vincent Kompany get what club did he manage?
Burnley.
How can he get Burnley level players who are a club that were built upon Sean Dyche football to pass and move the ball better than Man United in a year?
And that's not an issue. I'm not denying that aspect.
But that's
what
my
I am-
point. I get your point. We're not
What
going to
I
be
don't-
Ajax for the year, but we
no, but
must be able to move the ball better with his coaching.
But what we're talking about is the expectation of him doing that with this club and this team. It don't make no sense. The profiles of in my genuine honest opinion.
There's a level. There's a
Sean
level, bro.
Dyche, hold up. Sean Dyche's team, right? They're well knitted. They knew what they were doing. They have cohesion. They have chemistry. They've been playing football with each other for a very long time. When you now start putting specific instructions in that team, they are more likely going to be able to turn it around as a team, not individually, as a team. Manchester United are a team based on a bunch of individuals, overhyped, that like to throw players under the bus. Their egos are out of the way. They're not going to stay with any manager and outwork for 2-3 seasons. They're going to continue to throw managers under the bus. Sean Dyche's Burnley, no matter what, whether their football shit or not, the same team will still hold the same morals, the same standards, the same work ethic to go and at least try and implement a style of football that will allow it to be consistent. Manchester United's managers, when they overtake this team, no matter who it is, these players will never, ever, ever, ever be consistent to those levels. Therefore, you will start to see a dip, i.e. we've spoke about Rashford already, not even doing the work Anthony does. I sat here and spoke about Anthony being shit on the ball, but I said he's so vital for Ten Hag because of the stuff he does off the ball. No one wanted to have that conversation.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you 100% on that.
So I don't understand this expectation.
No, but the expectation, listen, I'm not expecting us to be prime Ajax, prime Barca, prime Man United. But Luton Town, Everton, Burnley, Sheffield United all play better football than us. And they're not playing something that's magical. They're playing basic structured. No, I'm not saying you were saying that, but I said they're playing basic structured stuff with managers that you would say is not good enough for the state of Manchester United. So why is it wrong, or why is it far-fetched for me to be like, can we just be like at a base level of just being able to pass the ball to left, right, center without it being a struggle, without it being a hassle, without it being
don't think it is
so hard to do.
And if that's the case, if that's the case, why do managers' CVs matter at all? If they're coming into a team and we have to sort of scrap the president, why were we excited that Ten Hag was coming in regardless? We may as well got Poch, we may as well got Conte, we may as well got anybody, because if that's the case, it doesn't matter who the manager is, because the outcome's always going to be the same.
I can only speak for me, Dizzy, and again, I got it on record. I wanted Ten Hag because I identified there's been no football structure. He's the only manager that's worked in my opinion, again, at Ajax, that's been under one of the best, in my opinion, again, anyway, one of the best structures ever. Now, if I knew we didn't have a football structure, I knew at least he had a mindset to know what goes into that. And if we haven't got football people, I'll end quickly. If we haven't got football people managing from the top downwards, then it has to come from somewhere. And this is why I fully went with Ten Hag. That's it. The style of football.
I agree with that point, but this is why I don't want him at the club anymore, because of that. I thought he was going to come in and help us start to build that structure. The fact that he has now said, no, I've just come in here to coach the way they want me to coach. Correct. And it's in a style of football that he's never coached before, at a club with no structure. I don't want him, because I don't think it's going to work.
My rebuttal to that, Terry, and this is, again, something I highlighted, and I said it last time, there's only two things that can happen at United. We either stick a manager out. If you want to challenge City, Liverpool, you have to stick with the manager, because he's the only one that can build. The last manager we had that built from the bottom upwards was Sir Alex Ferguson. We haven't got that power no more. Although I respect the simple fact that yes, he's got the experience of in terms of the structural side of football, right? That's still not going to be enough for us to compete or even be consistent. Because the reality is, like you've been saying and everyone else, we need a structure to work with him. So when he fucks up with decisions in terms of who he's buying and whatnot, we've got a DOF saying, mate, to be fair, you don't really need to go and get rid of a keeper this season. You do need to go get some clinical strikers, because that's where he's struggling. This is why it goes hand in hand. So my expectations, again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I actually agree with everything you're saying. My expectations seem to be different based on what I'm willing to tolerate. And I think that's our tolerance levels.
And I do understand that. And I understand the notion of sticking with the manager. It's just everything you were hoping for when Ten Hag came in, I was hoping for. We now kind of know it's not happening. Now, we know Sir Jim's coming in. But I think it's gone too far with his dressing room, and I think he's going to have to be
Yeah.
a bit of a sacrificial lamb. Some more super chats here. This one says, Coach Beard from Ted Lasso. Right, yes, I now know what you mean. Already done this one here. Yo, Staffy, go to therapy. He's not here anymore. But why does Staffy have an Arsenal photo behind him? I think because his channel talks about more than one football club. Gunner here. I dream about.
Sorry, just quickly. It was Van Persie walk getting serenaded by the Arsenal team.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gunner here. I dream about a Rice Joe Linton. Listen, Joe Linton as a midfielder, awful striker, brilliant midfield player. What a transformation that has been. I actually think that's up there with converting Bastian Schweinsteiger from a winger into a world-class DM. I think it's on par with that. Here's my Rashford defense. Same can apply to Shaw, Martial, McTominay. The new players are worse than the guys who have been here forever, forever and years. We know the ceiling with the 10-year players, so I stop moaning. Yeah, listen, I understand that. I do get where you're coming from. I do. McTominay was in Joe Linton's pocket all game. You guys are lucky to be one down. Listen, McTominay should be coming on if we need goals in the last 10 minutes. He shouldn't be starting. It should have been Amrabat and Kobe in a double pivot. That is what we should have done from the start of this game. Everybody called it. Didn't happen. Should have done the same thing against Galatasaray when we went 3-1 up. Didn't do it, and it fell away. And the fact this manager can't see it's crazy. Ten Hag out. Who manager would you want? Depends on... Listen, when... I would still do it now because I think the reason I would do it now is this. There is a possibility with Sir Jim coming in that things improve because of the people he brings in. There's a possibility. I would remove the manager now and put a caretaker in charge until that goes through and then appoint somebody, because I think what you'll get is a spike maybe for a few weeks from people with the manager being gone. You know, Sancho gets a new lease of life. You need a new regime to eradicate player power in the medium to long term. Of course you do. But it depends on what they're looking to do and the style we want to play. If we're just going to have this short-term vision like we have now again, then it has to be a short-term manager like an Antonio Conte for me. For all of you, can I ask, what do you want in the manager? Because I hear he's ruining the relationships with players. We asked for managers to lay down the law. Now we're mad he's doing that.
If I may really quickly.
You go on. You
go on, Diz.
For me, you can lay down the law. One, I praised him last season for doing exactly that. But if it has to be on a basis of meritocracy, if somebody's pulling in a stinker week in, week out, and you keep doing interviews saying, I don't care how he plays, I'm going to play him regardless because he will be our guy moving forward. And then he keeps blowing the stinkers and his form gets worse and worse and worse. That's a problem. And then you have another player who you say training standards. We say, okay, cool, we'll take your word for it. But he's out the team, off the squad photo for training reasons. So what he's doing on the pitch, he didn't even get a chance to show that. That's one. And I think when you have a manager who quote unquote lays down this law and has an iron fist, it's a high risk, high reward strategy. When it works, now you have a very cohesive team that is in line, that understand the rules, that play ball, and they'll do whatever it takes to be in the squad. However, when you're losing games week on week on week, now it's a question of, wait a minute, this guy is being mad authoritative. He's actually a prick, and we're not winning either. So why do we have this prick here? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, here's the thing: you can be authoritative and lay down the law and not sacrifice your people management skills. Do you think Klopp isn't laying down the law? You think Pep ain't laying down the law? Their clubs, they're laying down the law, but what's the difference? The way they treat their players is clearly something that all of them can respect. The way that Ten Hag's gone about it in the last season, not last season, but this season alone, the way he's gone about it, clearly since preseason, something has gone wrong where the players are looking at him and like, but wait, you've changed, you've done something weird here, and now you're moving mad, and we can't get along with it. So I don't agree with the players down in tools, but we've got to look at how a manager can lay down the law.
Nothing is all one thing. It isn't just the players downing tools. It isn't just the manager getting things wrong. It isn't just the way the club is run. I mean, overly, that's the overarching issue with the football club. It's systemic. So there are multiple things that need to be addressed. Cam here says Terry's all over the place on Ten Hag. Not really. I mean, I'm very resolute in what I said, and no one yet, with respect, has offered me a rebuttal as to why I'm wrong. So if you should show me how I'm all over the place, we can go through it. It may feel like it's all over the place because it's multi-layered. So yes, I want the manager sacked, but I don't think that by itself fixes the football club. I don't mean this rudely. I know for some people that is a weird concept because a lot of people just read The Sun. They believe in net spend and they think sack manager, we get better. Sell this player, we get better. As it works in 10 years. So it's very multifaceted, my friend. This here says your point is immediately null, bringing up Donny van der Beek. You missed my... No, I did do your other super chat, Hakeem. We definitely did that a few minutes ago, bro. Mateos here says a sign of a good coach is getting the best out of your current players and individually improving your best players. United fans, name me one player who has improved. The crazy thing is, Rashford was the guy. Rashford was the player that everyone looks at. Bruno had a good year last year.
Sure.
Shaw was good.
Last season,
he has had a few, but he hasn't sustainably done that.
The thing is, they went forward and went backwards. That's the issue.
What's interesting about this from an Arsenal point of view is this. When Arteta first came in, again, very different scenario because he was a brand new manager. So he had no experience. So you actually expect more mistakes than someone who's been managing a lot longer. And it took a while for Arteta to get his team going, and he fell out with a lot of big players and he moved them on. But they carried on getting better. And when Aubameyang in that January went, I remember doing spaces with people in shows where a lot of gooners were like, I could really lose that dressing room now. And it was from that point where they've really started to kick on to being top of the league again now, looking like you compare where they were then compared to Man United, we were much better than them. Look where Arsenal are now compared to us. Newcastle were bottom of the league 2 years ago this weekend. Look where they are now compared to us. Part of that is on Ten Hag. Part of that is on the way we run as a football club, but it also demonstrates that you need more than just the new manager. It's the overarching issues there that need to be addressed. Look, I want to thank everybody that's tuned into the show today. It is very late because I forgot this was a Saturday game that kicked off at 8 o'clock. I'm going to go to bed because I'm absolutely exhausted. What is this here? That is the one question I asked Terry, always denying it. Who is 10 Hog, 8 Hog improved? Well, we answered it already if you're on the stream, bro. Maybe you're not there yet, my friend. See you later on. Nice one, Married on the Moron. We just answered it, literally. I don't ignore it. I've answered it every time people have asked me that question, my friend. There we go. Stop your Erik Ten Hag misinformation. It's hypothetical. Hypocritical. Well, it isn't misinformation. I've heard what he said. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I've heard what the man has said. Anybody denying it is crazy to me. I can't believe it's being ignored. He literally said, I am not with this group of players going to play like I did at Ajax. He has said, the Man United have a DNA and I'm going to follow it. My question is, this looks like a bad version of Ollie Ball. So he's failing. If he's trying to play Fergie or some Matt Busby football, he's failing. So and he's got no pedigree of doing that. He hasn't. And Man United don't have... I don't think Fergie went to 4-3-3, so maybe that works nowadays. But Fergie's peak, that's 4-4-2. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that don't work anymore. That's not because Fergie would have changed if he was still young. Fergie would have adapted like he did over 30, 40 years. We've got to do something different era now. Listen, people, I want to thank you all for tuning in. My panel, Sunshine, Dizzy, KJ, of course, Staffy had to leave. Always a pleasure to speak with you. My super chat as you are out of this world. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And unfortunately,